Greetings, members of the cabinet. Oprah voice, bitch. Now, tonight on Unhinged is the beginning of the end for our fair Omarosa. Tonight, she gets reminded exactly who she is and how this is going to play out. We're going to get through this. We'll laugh. We'll cry. And we'll side-eye like a motherfucker. But in the end, we will reminisce on what it was and what it is. Okay? Don't forget next week on Tuesday, the official podcast. I keep calling it a podcast, but it's more like a TV show. Secretary of Shade. It's like a podcast / TV show. It's like Wendy Williams meets The Daily Show meets like Jerry Springer. If that makes sense. But anywho, I want to thank you guys for these readings. Next week, we will start April Ryan's book, Under Fire. I will do a live reading on Thursday. The podcast will debut this Tuesday, September the 4th. On YouTube, make sure you have subscribed. Search Secretary of Shade on YouTube and join the cabinet. Now, with that being said, we shall begin. This is the 4. Turn your Bibles to the book of Omarosa, chapter 14, page 296. My autumn months in the White House can only be defined as bizarre. Where the previous seasons were notorious for their crises, intensity, and conflict, my final season was just strange and full of odd surprises. No shit, bitch. Okay? The first major crisis came in the form of hurricanes. Harvey, Irma, and Maria. One after another. Now, remember the hurricanes, these are basically the hurricanes that impacted Puerto Rico that they still have not recovered from. So this is that bout of hurricanes. This is just last year, bitch. Harvey hit Texas and Louisiana in the final days of August and did major damage. President Trump visited Texas twice in 1 week, on August 29th and on September 2nd. Within 30 days, more than $1.5 billion in federal disaster relief was paid to Texans. All told, Trump deployed more than 31,000 federal and FEMA staff. FEMA delivered 3 million meals and 3 million liters of water. In addition to providing temporary shelter to more than 30,000 people displaced in Texas and Louisiana. Irma hit closer to home for me, battering Florida, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina on September 10th. Trump visited Florida 4 days later. FEMA and federal staff deployed dozens of incident management assistance teams, mobile response teams, and urban search and rescue task force to all 5 states and delivered 7.2 million meals, 41 generators, and 5.5 liters of water within days. The storm hit Jacksonville and caused major damage and flooding. It was difficult to concentrate when my husband and mother and our church members and community members were in harm's way. So let's unpack this real quick. So we all remember, but in this news cycle, we may not immediately remember unless we were there, that series of hurricanes. You was watching TV, bitch. Texas, they wading in the water like a Negro spiritual. Shit is just out of hand. It's like hectic. It's like climate change at its zenith. Shit just fucked up in the game. So basically what she's saying, Trump did what he was supposed to do. No shade against our Texas and Southern cabinet members, because he did what he was supposed to do in that. Here's where shit gets a little sketchy. And then there was Maria, okay? It hit Puerto Rico on September 20th. Trump did not visit the U.S. territory until October 3rd. So almost 2 weeks Rico just got fucked up in the game. He finally decides to visit. And if we're going to get political here, you know why he probably visited the South and all of those places? Because those are states that he won. Those are states where his base resides. Those are states that he needs. It took FEMA a week to deliver meals. And when they did, the meals contained chocolate bars, cookies, and potato chips. Now, I gotta go back. We gotta stop here. Because let's talk about food deserts in black communities, in communities of color, where you have to travel to get quality produce. Something as simple as oranges and apples. But you can find a liquor store. You can find a corner store. You can find a carryout on every corner. But you cannot find a market unless you got to catch a bus or go out yonder. And he gives these people fucking Snickers bars, bitch. You get a Snickers. You get a Snickers. You get a Snickers. They hire independent contractors to provide 30 million meals ready to eat. But after nearly a month, only 50,000 were delivered. Okay? Now, we just saw on the news, I don't know if you guys recall, where they found a lot of the food and perishables sitting in trucks rotting. Okay? So, let's look at this number again. 30 million meals. 30 million meals ready to eat. Only 50,000. 50,000 actually delivered. The other damn near 2,950,000 just sat. Come on, cabinet. Cabinet. The electricity is still out on much of the island to this day. At a press conference, Trump said, "I hate to tell you, Puerto Rico, but you've thrown our budget out of whack." The death toll was originally reported to be 16, which he said was nothing compared to a real catastrophe like Katrina. 16 people certified, Trump said. 16 people versus in the thousands with Katrina, the statistic, according to this book, is 1,833. You can be very proud of all of your people and all of our people working together. 16 versus literally thousands of people, you can be very proud. Now, that 16 number is not verified and it's not true. More people perished than that. I mean, like, come on. When Trump and Melania finally visited the island, they went to a relief distribution center near San Juan, the Calvary Chapel. He famously threw paper towels. Remember that bitch? He threw paper towels like he was good at sports. Threw paper towels, and the devastated victims who lost homes and didn't have enough food or water. He defended that cavalier behavior in the face of human tragedy by telling Mike Huckabee on his Trinity broadcasting show, they had these beautiful soft towels, very good towels. And I came in and there was a crowd of a lot of people and they were screaming and they were loving everything. I was having fun. They were having fun. They said, throw them to me, Mr. President. Who the fuck says that? Like, who says that? That is crazy, bitch. This motherfucker is delusional. He's senile, yo. So the next day they said, oh, it was so disrespectful to the people. It was just a made-up thing. And also, when I walked in, the cheering was incredible. Just like Charlottesville, it was all about him. The devastated people loved him. He was unfairly persecuted by the media. Everyone was having a great old time. His total lack of empathy is bad enough, but I believe many of the problems and delays with getting aid to Puerto Rico were partially political. The mayor of San Juan, Carmen Yulín Cruz, was openly critical of the U.S. response. I remember that because if you watch the news, a lot of the Puerto Rican politicians, and just politicians in general, were on the news going off about his piss-poor response. So I remember that. I would not put it past Trump to punish the people of Puerto Rico to teach that woman of color a lesson. Puerto Rico is still in complete disarray. No matter how loud the outcry, the administration was lethargic in its response. Puerto Rico will be among the worst stains on Donald Trump's presidency. And God bless Tom Bossert, who tried to get the resources, tried to fight. He and I were fighting arm in arm, hand in hand to try to advocate for Puerto Rico to get what they needed. And John Kelly shut it down. Now, John Kelly, we remember that's the one that fired Omarosa. In a national security meeting, he said their infrastructure was already screwed up and suggested the bankrupt government was trying to exploit the hurricane to force the United States to foot the bill to rebuild their electrical grid. Kelly, like Trump, referred to Puerto Ricans with derogatory terms many times. The death toll, immediate deaths, those due to disease or illness in the aftermath is still unconfirmed. But a 2018 Harvard University analysis says the actual number is 4,645 people. Due to lack of access to medical care and electricity, being cut off from aid, stress, and other hurricane-related effects. So, bitch, we're not even going to get into the people that got swept up in the storm, bitch. After the storm is when shit set in. I don't know if you guys remember, but like when they were covering the hurricane and shit, they were going to a lot of these people's homes. And you saw like elderly people, disabled people, just fucked up in the game, yo. And it was like terrible. So a lot of those people probably succumbed to the shit that they had going on, which is really sad. Around the time Maria struck Puerto Rico, Trump attended the United Nations General Assembly. I also joined the delegation to attend sessions related to famine. I was pleased with the $575 billion contribution that the U.S. made to fight hunger for 20 million Nigerians, Somalians, South Sudanese, and Yemenites. But I also pressed for more aid and asked that the U.S. establish a famine commission. My meetings and sessions were powerful and reflected the kind of work that was an extension of my personal ministry. I made strong connections with each of the country's delegates and was eager to continue. We're going to take that with a grain of salt, bitch. Like, I kind of believe it. I get where you're coming from, but it's like, this is your book, bitch. So we're going to move on from that. Now, during the United Nations General Assembly, Trump was scheduled to give a major speech to the full body. General Kelly sat in the audience with Melania. When Trump said the United States has great strength and patience, but if it is forced to defend itself or its allies, we will have no choice but to totally destroy North Korea. General Kelly dropped his face into his hands, a gesture that became known as the face palm felt around the world. However, the truth is, Kelly was not necessarily as exasperated as he appeared. Rumors circulated around the West Wing that Kelly suffers from excruciating migraines, which possibly began during his military service, and he was in the throes of one of those episodes at the assembly. According to a source close to Kelly, the stress of his new role, the noise and light in the room, and the pressure triggered the migraine, and he had no choice but to sit there and suffer through it. As bad as it was to put his face in his hands, it would have looked far worse if he'd walked out. As an officer, his service is compromised by this affliction, and he doesn't talk about it and prefers to appear to be made of stone. But when he gets a headache at work, he is vicious, bordering on cruel to his staff. So basically, he's a black woman, except for he's vicious. Because I know when my mother get migraines, bitch, it's giving man down, all hands on deck. Don't bother her. Let her sit in her room in the dark, bitch, and keep quiet like it's motherfucking thunderstorms outside. So basically, John Kelly is a black woman when it comes to migraines. Now, my plate was full with organizing the Trump administration's first White House summit on HBCUs. In the wake of Charlottesville, there were calls by the CBC and other groups to cancel the HBCU conference. I immediately pushed back against these critics and continued to plan. This conference had taken place every year for 20 years. It was a campaign promise of Trump's and was mandated by the executive order he signed back in February. The students who had been selected to serve as HBCU All-Stars were excited about making a trip to D.C. So, bitch, they was like, yeah, bitch, we going to D.C. It's Trump, HBCUs, the whole shebang. Now, I truly did not want to let down the 1,500 participants who were registered, especially the 100 student representatives. The number one driver for cancellation was none other than Secretary Betsy DeVos, this bitch. Perhaps she was still reeling from being booed at Bethune-Cookman's commencement and wasn't inclined to support the historic event. Not surprisingly, she went to John Kelly and asked him to force me to cancel it. So this bitch goes around Omarosa back and go to John Kelly asking him to cancel the motherfucking meeting. This bitch is a trip. I was summoned to his office and told that he had something very serious to discuss. He used his best ramrod straight military posture to intimidate me and said, Secretary DeVos does not want to go forward with the event, so I'm going to shut it down. I didn't flinch. We cannot cancel the event because of her. We can't let the students down. I laid out my case and told him that it was a White House event, that she would not have to be involved if she didn't want to go, and that the event should still move forward. He said he would allow me to proceed, but that if it failed, I would own it solely. I heard from a member of the HBCU staff that DeVos was livid that the event was moving forward. So, bitch, basically, DeVos don't want to deal with the black students, bitch. She's like that one teacher in high school that, like, if you ever went to school in, like, the inner city, in, like, a tough school, and it's like that always that one teacher that really couldn't find a job in her district or anywhere else, so she had to work at your school, and it was like a nightmare for her, and the bitch was just angry every fucking day. That's Betsy DeVos. A week after my meeting with General Kelly, Betsy DeVos tried to shut down the event by sending out a blast notice that it was off, and then she canceled the contract with the conference's hotel. By doing so, she cost the U.S. government $75,000 in cancellation fees. So, bitch, we paid $75,000 because this bitch had a fit. She did not care. I was angry and upset, but did not let her actions destroy what I had worked for. We quickly countered her notice with a statement from the president announcing that the summit would now take place at the White House and would go 3 days rather than 5. So, basically, they shortened the event to keep it going. It's crazy. The White House Conference Center could only hold 300 people. So I decided on the fly to scale down and break up the conference into a series of small sessions. We registered each session until capacity was reached and then close it off. Hosting at the White House also solved any security concerns. To enter, you had to be vetted and cleared. To the dismay of all the forces working against me, I had one person in my corner, President Trump. He saw me in a Roosevelt room after a meeting and asked what I was up to. I told him I had a few minor problems with the HBCU conference. I called out no one in particular, which might have distracted him. I just let him know what I needed. He made one call, and all roadblocks were removed. So that's basically why ain't nobody like Omarosa, because Trump was fucking with her, and she could do shit like that. And I'm going to tell you, to put this in context, knowing the type of woman that Betsy DeVos is, or appears to be, because I don't want to get sued for slander, but she probably had a problem with this black bitch from the projects calling the president and telling him, look, bitch, this is what's going to happen. So that was definitely a problem. Hey, Chicago cabinet members! So, suddenly, accommodations were made, funds were available, catering fell into place, and the conference center was secured. In a communications meeting to nail down the messaging for the conference, I had to deal with Kelly Sadler. She said, are you sure about doing this? You're bringing some very angry people into the White House. After Charlottesville, they might riot. They might burn the place down. So this is some racist ass shit. So basically, bitch, you saying that black people don't know how to fucking act when they come to the White House. Whole time just ignoring the fact that a black person ran the White House for the last 8 years before y'all got there. This is the shit I be talking about. Like, bitch, we're not gonna come to the White House and act the fool, bitch. These is college students from historically black colleges and universities. They not coming in there to act the fool so y'all can shoot them for no goddamn reason. Bitch, calm down. What the fuck, man? Sadler was famous for her inappropriate commentary in communications meetings. When Trump tweeted about the transgender ban in the military, she agreed on principle and said in a communications meeting that I attended, "Why should we pay for soldiers to get their dicks cut off?" We gonna Google this bitch Kelly Sadler after we finish this fucking book, and we gonna storm her Twitter like a motherfucker bitch, because she tried it, okay? I said to Sadler, "The students are the best and brightest in our community, who carry themselves with dignity and class. If they protest at all, they'll do it peacefully." Which the bitch got a point. Like I just said, they ain't coming in here to act crazy and act the fool in the middle of the White House, bitch. Like, this is the shit I be talking about. This is why you need diversity. Because bitches, like, after all this craziness, the conference was moving forward. Sarah Sanders received questions about it in her briefing. She reinforced that it was moving forward. "It's happening, and registration is full," she said. The same people who called to cancel were now begging to attend. I turned to the president again when Betsy DeVos refused to give opening remarks to the HBCU All-Stars. As a result, the head of cabinet affairs, Bill McGinley, told her she had to give the opening remarks. So it was like, "Bitch, you gonna talk to these motherfuckers, or either you some shit is gonna go down, bitch." So bitch had to make a speech. It went off without another hitch, and I was relieved after the success of the conference. Much of the press commented on the reduced size and the controversy about it, but the students loved it. I considered it one of the high points of my time serving at the White House. Right on the heels of that success, though, came bad news. Keith Schiller, Trump's bodyguard and friend of many years, left at the end of September. I knew that without Keith, the president would probably become unhinged. I spoke with my husband and a few friends, and we all agreed the best time for me to leave would be in January, what is known as the 1-year anniversary exodus, where many of staffers leave their White House positions. It would give me more time to find a possible replacement for African American outreach. So basically what she's saying is in January every year when shit going south, motherfuckers leave. Because, you know, like with any other job, bitch, you do a year so it look good on a resume, bitch, because if you leave and only do 6 months, you might as well not even put that on your resume, bitch, because then they're going to call and then they're going to say you left on bad terms, and then HR going to have to verify it, they're going to have to explain it, and then nobody got time to be putting that on the resume and shit. I just leave this shit off. I just be like, fuck it. I worked at Burger King for 6 months. I'm not putting that shit on, moving on, bitch. On September 22nd, while campaigning for Luther Strange in the Republican primary in Alabama, Luther Strange, we're going to get to him in a minute. Trump said of NFL players who took a knee during the Star-Spangled Banner, "That's a total disrespect of our heritage. That's a total disrespect of everything that we stand for. Wouldn't you love to see one of these NFL owners, when somebody disrespects our flag, you'd say, 'Get that son of a bitch off the field right now. Out. He's fired.'" Now, we have some people from the right who watch these readings. I just want to reiterate this for you. When people kneel for the flag, when these players are kneeling for the flag, it's not about the fucking flag, bitch. It's about Captain Crunch, okay? It's not about the stars, the stripes, the red, white, and blue. It's about Captain Crunch, okay? That's who it's about. So stop blaming the shit on the motherfucking flag, bitch. We don't like Captain Crunch. That's why the fuck they kneeling. Trump had first grabbed hold of this issue a year ago in September 2016 during the campaign, when Colin Kaepernick began the trend to protest police violence against African Americans. When Trump mentioned it at a rally, he got a huge cheer, and that was it. He incorporated it into his greatest hits. Once again, that tour shit, bitch. And played that tune whenever he needed to quickly rile the base. His calling black players unpatriotic was completely designed to trigger latent racial resentment in a certain population of people who were predisposed to resent wealthy black men who weren't grateful enough about their lot in life. The sentiment couldn't be summed up as shut up and play. Bitch, she put those words together, bitch. The Trump tactic was to reframe the issue. The players took a knee for social justice. Donald reframed it to be about patriotism, saying that if they didn't stand for the national anthem, they weren't patriotic. They were against the military. You won't find a single player who would agree with that. At first, I thought Trump didn't understand why the players, and in time, many of the owners were so offended by his remarks. I put together an extensive briefing memo for the president to make sure he was properly informed on the issue. I'm certain he never read it, because we know he reads on an 8th grade level. Okay? As long as Donald J. Trump got cheers when he trashed these powerful black men, he was not going to stop. Trump said despicable, racist comments about blacks, Jews, and Tate apprentice meetings, claims former producer Newsweek. Okay. In October, apprentice producer Bill Pruitt started talking about the N-word tape again, this time on the NPR podcast Embedded. McEvers brought up Pruitt's October 2016 tweet about the Trump tapes and his offensive language. Okay? So basically they go over the tapes and what he said and all that. His interview must have triggered some soul searching in the far reaches of the apprentice word. Soon after, I heard more rumblings about the N-word tape. During the campaign, Mark Burnett's office. Now, Mark Burnett, for those of you who not TV junkies, Mark Burnett, he do like Survivor. He basically do like every fucking reality show known to man, okay? Has sent out reminders to everybody about their non-disclosure agreements. The message were clear. Forces were trying to protect Donald J. Trump. So basically, Mark Burnett and the TV people was like, bitch, y'all better not leak this tape. It's not going out. If you leak the tape, shit's going to get real. So the television people that do the show trying to fucking like crazy. A truly unique situation came up on October 9th when Ivana Trump, the president's first wife, went on Good Morning America to promote her new memoir, Raising Trump, and said, I'm basically first Trump wife, okay? I'm first lady. That's what she came for, Melania, bitch. She also said of Melania, I think for her to be in Washington must be terrible. After watching the interview, I immediately went over to the East Wing to see how Melania was doing. She was furious. My recommendation to a member of her staff, Melania needs to put that Ivana in her place. Those are some fighting words. No one knew how to calm Melania down. So Melania was like, I'm about to drag this bitch because she tried it on Good Morning America, bitch. So Melania pissed. I would have paid money to see that shit. I didn't understand why Donald didn't step in. By not shutting Ivana down, he was empowering her to say whatever she wanted on national TV about Melania or him. Donald should have tweeted that he only had one first lady, Melania Trump. Personally, I think he enjoyed the Real Housewives of the White House spat. He loves to pit people against each other and watch them fight it out, even those closest to him. In fact, whenever Donald and Melania weren't on speaking terms, which was very often, he would call Ivana and ask her for advice. So he calling the other bitch, he calling the baby mother, the first baby mother, to talk about Melania. See, this is why I be reading. This is why I do this shit. So motherfuckers, we can understand that, bitch, this is Maury Povich, bitch. This is Maury. And this is the White House. These motherfuckers is not really different from us at all. They just got a little bit of coin and they in the White House, bitch. But this is some Maury Povich shit, bitch. Where is Ricky Lake out this motherfucker? Okay. Even then, in the comparatively halcyon pre-Stormy Daniels days of October, Melania was counting every minute until he was out of office and she could be a private citizen again. Wacky Congressman Wilson is the gift that keeps on giving for the Republican Party. A disaster for Dems. You watch her in action and vote R, Trump tweeted. A crisis rocked the White House, and specifically General Kelly. In mid-October, there's a bit of a backstory. On October 4th, 4 soldiers were killed in an ambush gone wrong in Niger. Now, this is where shit get real annoying. Flashback to the soldier that was killed in Niger. I know I always say remember that, but remember that. And they were looking for him, and they found he was there. It was terrible. And the way that Trump handled his wife, like, I pray that anybody in my family that serves the country never gets treated like this. But anyway. On October 4th, 4 soldiers were killed in an ambush gone wrong. One of them was Army Sergeant LaDavid Johnson. I like that name, LaDavid. That's kind of kind. I live. Married to his childhood sweetheart, Maisha Johnson, the mother of his 2 children, and pregnant with a 3rd. Florida Congresswoman Frederica Wilson, remember that's Mother Hat, had known LaDavid Johnson his whole life. I didn't know that. Long before her time in Congress, and had been his mentor in a special program for young men who aspire to be in the military. So this is some shit that remind you that you never know who and what person people know, because I never knew this. After much pressure for Donald to make a condolence call to the fallen soldiers, he called Maisha on October 17th. Okay? Now, mind you, on October 4th, they was killed. He called her on October 17th, bitch. That's a whole pay period. That was a whole paycheck ago. And he called her. Wilson happened to be with her at the time and listened to their conversation on speakerphone. As she recounted on CNN over 2 interviews, Trump showed no empathy for the widow, saying, "Your husband knew what he signed up for, but I guess it still hurt." Also, Trump didn't remember LaDavid's name. As soon as the call ended, Maisha said Wilson broke down. Yo ain't even remember his name. How you gonna call somebody wife after, like, there's, like, the disregard for black lives and people of color from this administration is nauseating. And quite frankly, it's frightening. On October 18th, so this is the next day, Trump tweeted at 4:25 a.m., "Democrat Congresswoman totally fabricated what I said to the wife of a soldier who died in action, and I have proof. Sad." Sarah Sanders accused Wilson of politicizing and said her having listened in on the call was appalling and disgusting. In response, and so basically this what happened. I know what probably happened. Maisha was there with Frederica, Mother Hat. She got the call. She's like, "Oh my God, it's Donald Trump." Bitch probably destroyed. She like, "Hold on, baby. We're going to put him on speaker in case this bitch try it." So they put him on speaker. Black women, y'all are the queens of receipts. I swear to God, I think a black woman invented Cash App, y'all. I swear to God. Because I would have never thought to put the motherfucker on speaker. I would have been too distraught. But black women, y'all be remembering this shit. Like, it's crazy, y'all. In response to Trump's tweet, the fallen soldier's mother, Kawanda Jones Johnson, who also heard the call on speaker, bitch, they was doing a waiting to exhale party on this motherfucking phone call, told the Washington Post, "President Trump did disrespect my son and my daughter, and also me and my husband." And it continued to escalate. On October 19th, General Kelly held a press conference at the White House to continue to beat down his grieving widow. He explained the protocol for alerting family members of a soldier's death and recounted the circumstances of his own son's death in Iraq. He said that he hadn't been the one to tell Trump what to say on his condolence calls. He then said, "I was stunned when I came to work yesterday morning and brokenhearted at what I saw a member of Congress doing. A member of Congress who listened in on a phone call from the President of the United States to a young wife. It stuns me that a member of Congress would have listened in on that conversation. Absolutely stuns me. And I thought at least that was sacred." So Trump's lack of empathy on a condolence call was being reframed by Kelly as an act of moral inferiority on the part of Congressman Wilson, whom he would not even dignify by using her name. He continued to trash Wilson, telling another story about her being an empty barrel that makes the most noise. As he told it, at the dedication of a new FBI building in Miami to 2 fallen agents, the Congresswoman stood up and took credit for securing the funding for the building, making the ceremony all about her. This too stunned Kelly. In the administration where the president makes everything all about him, bitch, you can't be mad about somebody trying to get their coins in their press, bitch. I'm just saying. The next day, the Sun-Sentinel of Fort Lauderdale posted a video from that dedication ceremony and showed that Congressman Wilson, Mother Hat, had not stood up and taken credit for the building's financing. Kelly lied, and he had a very racist memory of being offended by a black woman who even when she did nothing inappropriate. The day after that, at the press briefing with Sarah Sanders, reporters wanted to know if Kelly would apologize or admit that he was wrong. Sanders said, if you want to go after General Kelly, that's up to you. But I think that if you want to get into a debate with the 4-star Marine General, I think that's something highly inappropriate. So basically, they was like, bitch, he said it. And if you want beef, bitch, this the motherfucking general, come with it. Like, what the fuck is wrong with y'all? Sarah Sanders, though, you gotta give Aunt Lindy her tens, though. Because that bitch, she way colder than Sean Spicer. Like, Sean Spicer couldn't handle it. But this bitch, I'm convinced this bitch is cold-blooded. Because ain't no way in the hell I can stand up in front of the country and lie like this every day with a straight face. And then look at you like you got a fucking problem. This bitch crazy. Now, if you followed this story in the news, you've heard all this before. What you don't know is what was said behind the scenes, bitch. And you know she probably got a tape. In a senior staff meeting, right after Wilson came out and said the president made a war widow cry, Kelly spoke of Maisha with such disdain. It shocked me and many others in the room. He said, how dare she put the call on speaker? How dare she not just be grateful to receive a call at all? Because, you know, because she a black bitch, you lucky that he even called your ass. The president had waited 2 weeks to make that call. I just said that, bitch. Didn't I say it took a pay period, bitch? That was a whole chat. In the meantime, he was railing against NFL players and in a rage because Rex Tillerson, as it came out, had called him a moron. He was fixated on that, saying he's a moron. I'm a genius. My IQ is genius level. He thinks he's a big shot. I'll challenge him to an IQ test. Bitch, you can't even read a presidential briefing, bitch. Who is you testing for an IQ test, bitch? I'm just saying. He only acknowledged the death of those 4 soldiers because the media challenged him to make the call. Trump made headlines on November 15th when during a speech in the mat room, he awkwardly reached for a bottle of water and then used both hands to drink it. Get this bitch a sippy cup. So last reading, he needed the short for. Now he need a sippy cup, bitch. I don't know what's going on with this motherfucker. People made fun of him about it, but I found it worrisome. I have been concerned about his health for quite some time. During the campaign, I expressed concern for his medical health and what a doctor's exam would reveal. I was told by a member of the family, don't worry, the doctor won't let Donald down. The doctor was Harold Bornstein. He provided a glowing review of Trump's health in September 2016 that sounded too good to be true. Of course it wasn't true. Bornstein told CNN on May 2018 that Trump dictated the whole letter. I didn't write it. I just made it up as it went along. You need to be stripped of your license. Okay? He needs to be stripped of his license because you are a medical professional and you let Donald Trump tell you as a medical professional what you were going to write on a letter to deceive the country. Take all that shit away. He needs to have his license taken. Who the fuck does that? Like, that's malpractice. Low key, is it malpractice, bitch? I don't know. But if you're a medical professional, bitch, is that malpractice? Like, I feel like that's malpractice, bitch. It may not be, but I'm just saying. It need to be. Okay. Woo. So the thing that kills me with this is everybody do this fucked up shit while they working in the White House. Then after their asses get fired, everybody want to go on a press tour and go to CNN and talk about how they did fucked up shit and the president ain't shit. But you was doing the fucked up shit, bitch. If it was so fucked up, why didn't you quit? I'm confused. Is you dumb or is you stupid? What's going on? He also said that in February 2017, soon after Trump became president, 3 people had gone to his office and taken the entire Trump file, 35 years of medical records. The trigger for the raid might have been Bornstein's telling the New York Times about Trump's previously undisclosed use of Propecia. So the bitch used Propecia for hair loss and a rosacea drug. That's probably why he be tanning so much. Why he orange like that, because he got rosacea. Rosacea is when your skin gets real red and real like flushed. So that's probably why he fucking tans, to hide that rosacea. And then he was using the Propecia for that fucking comb over, bitch. Like a bang wrap, like, let me explain. Donald had, like, he trying to give, it's like giving a bang wrap tea. But a bang wrap supposed to be full in the front. Like, the shit starts, it's not supposed to be thinning. You know what I'm saying? Like, a bang wrap supposed to be like here and full, and it's like thin. I don't know. Like, I don't know. Okay. As he told NBC News, I couldn't believe anybody was making a big deal out of a drug to grow hair. The doctor said he felt raped, frightened, and sad, and could have taken it further, but he never did. He had to have known how dangerous those people were. Back to that awkward drinking moment in the mat room, as soon as the event was over, Dr. Ronnie Jackson approached the president. We were departing the room. I didn't know what happened after I left, but to my untrained eye, it looked like Trump had had a small episode of some kind. Motherfucker might have been having a stroke, low-key. I believe that Donald Trump is physically ill. His terrible health habits have caught up with him. His refusal to exercise except for golf. His addiction to Big Macs and fried chicken. Now, for a motherfucker that don't like black people, you eating Big Macs and fried chicken. And I ain't trying to be stereotypical, but goddamn it, bitch. His daily tanning bed sessions, he prefers to do it in the morning so he looks good all day. Donald might brag about his superior genes, but even they can't stand up to what he puts his body through. He is clearly obese. During the first season of The Apprentice, he was tall and svelte. In the ensuing seasons, Donald expanded slowly but surely. In 2007, he didn't have a belly yet or the jaw. By 2012, he probably put on 30 pounds eating a junk food only diet. His preference for steak well done with ketchup. Bitch, that's some hood ass shit. Like, steak with ketchup, bitch, you don't want no A1 and then you eating it well done. The steak is supposed to be medium, sis. Like, what is going on? And a junk food only diet has offended chefs all around the world. The world has yet to learn about the extent of Donald Trump's Diet Coke habit. He always had one in his hand as far back as I've known him. He's up to 8 cans a day at least. 8 cans a day for the last 15 years is 43,800 cans of Diet Coke poured into his system. Bitch, she did the math, bitch. Come on, Big Oma, bitch! In the White House, he just pushes a button in a wooden box on his desk. He can summon anything with that button. Whenever I went in to brief him, he pushed the button and get us Diet Cokes. When I started to have brain concerns for his mental health, I connected the dots to his physical health and poor choices, specifically his soda habit. I researched it and found a brand new study by a team of neurologists from Boston University that linked Diet Coke to consumption with dementia and increased risk of stroke. Bitch. Omarosa, bitch. Number one, I ain't got that kind of time. I ain't got that kind of time to be researching what Diet Cokes do to you, bitch. Now, if that's the case, the way I drink motherfucking Everfreshes with Malibu, bitch, I'm fitting to drop dead by the time I'm 50. but that's a whole nother story, bitch. Dementia. Not being able to remember anything, confusion, loss of vocabulary, inability to process information, stroke, those awkward shaking hands, struggling to bring a bottle of water to his mouth. And I just said that, bitch. I said he might have been having a stroke. And I promise y'all I ain't read this chapter yet. But I'm like, damn, bitch, like, it's gotta be obvious. I printed out the study and put it in his stack. He never read it. Bitch, you knew he ain't read it. He read on the 8th grade level. Rob Porter did, and he gave me a warning. After a senior staff meeting, he said, stop putting articles in the president's folder. You have to go through me first. Don't do it again. It was just like the time I had tried to talk to people at the White House about his cognitive issues. No one wanted to hear it, let alone document it. If Dr. Jackson knew what was really going on with Trump's brain and body, he did not disclose it to anyone. In January, he announced that the president was in excellent health, lying his ass off, and had excellent genes, an echo of what Trump always said about himself. So these people, like, this is scary. This is like on some Vladimir Putin type shit. Like, these people, like, it's crazy to me because I feel like Obama had motherfuckers telling on him about dumb shit, about suits and shit, bitch. And this motherfucker is really crazy, and these people is like going with it, yo. This shit is ill. His loyalty was rewarded when Donald nominated him for Secretary of Veteran Affairs, but that didn't work out. He was accused of being an unstable man who treated underlings poorly, abused alcohol, once crashed a car while drunk, banged on the hotel room door of a female colleague while drunk, and doled out prescription medication so freely he was called the Candy Man. So, bitch, you going to appoint a motherfucker named Ronnie Jackson to the Secretary of Veteran Affairs, bitch. The Candy Man, bitch. Staff Secretary Rob Porter was another man who Trump valued, who kept his secrets and had a very dark side. I found Rob to be very buttoned up, very rigid, but there was something about him that gave me pause. There was a weird look in his eyes. He was just not the kind of man with whom you want to be alone in the elevator. And yet, women on the staff liked him, such as Hope Hicks, his girlfriend at the time. So basically, he was fucking the Forever 21 bitch. I didn't challenge Porter about the study, and I steered clear of him. Trump world was overpopulated with questionable men. Trump endorsed Roy Moore, a man who was accused by several women of sexual misconduct, some when they were underage. Remember that? The motherfucker that was fucking with the teenagers and shit, and Trump co-signed them like a damn idiot. I found Trump's endorsement despicable. It was disgusting, and there was more than his alleged treatment of women. During a campaign speech, he referred to Asians as yellows and Native Americans as reds. He compared the Quran to Mein Kampf and said that Congressman Keith Ellison, a Muslim, should not be permitted to serve his country. There was simply no way that Donald really wanted a person like this to be a United States Senator. And yet, he supported him. January 20th could not come fast enough. I had to get out. After Charlottesville, we needed some feel-good events. One of the ones that came to my office helped to set up was a November 27th meeting to honor Navajo Code Talkers, veterans who aided the U.S. Marines to send coded messages during World War I and II. Okay, now if you ever seen this movie, Wind Talkers, it kind of covers the Navajo Code Talkers. Basically, the Indians, the same people who this country was stolen from, were the same people who helped win the world wars by having their language. Their language is very sophisticated and hard to, at that time, hard to dissect. So it was used to transport messages during the war efforts. So the same people that you killed, robbed, and placed in these small pockets of land are the same people that saved your ass. Make America great again, bitch. Donald spoke to 3 code talkers, all of them elderly gentlemen in the Oval. Unfortunately, the podium was right in front of a portrait of slave owner Andrew Jackson, the 7th president, a Trump favorite who had signed the Indian Removal Act in 1830 that led to mass migration of Native people along the Trail of Tears, where thousands of Cherokee died. That was an unfortunate oversight. One thing about it, the bitch know how to speak in context, because I'd have never thought of that shit. Another unfortunate moment was during Trump's praising of these proud men. He said, "I just want to thank you because you're very, very special people. You were here long before any of us were here." That's facts. Although we have a representative in Congress who was here a long time, longer than you. They call her Pocahontas. Another unforced error. Now, Pocahontas, that's Elizabeth Warren. Mother short hair. She kind of gives me slight dyke tease. A little bit. Like, slight lesbian. It's giving me, like, sis. I don't know if it's true or not. I didn't research her like that. But it's giving me sis. Okay? I was shocked. First of all, what did Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren have to do with the event? Why bring her up at all? Why use a racial slur about Native Americans at a ceremony to honor Native Americans? It was unconscionable. We had another one of our frustrating conversations immediately after that. I said, "Mr. President, you insulted those men. We were trying to honor them." He said, "I didn't insult him. I insulted Elizabeth Warren." He couldn't make the leap that evoking Pocahontas to belittle Warren was, in fact, insulting to Native people as a whole because of Trump's intention of his usage. In my opinion, Trump didn't care that he offended those men or anyone. He thought he'd gotten in a good jab at Elizabeth Warren. This bitch is bananas. Okay? The next day, Eric Trump, like an Olympic champion, tweeting, "The irony of an ABC reporter whose parent company Disney has profited nearly $500 million on the movie Pocahontas, inferring that the name is offensive is truly staggering to me. The real pressing issue wasn't that Donald insulted American heroes to their face in a White House that struggled with race. To Eric, it was that Disney made an animated film 22 years ago, bitch." That tweet was beneath Eric, but to stay in the cult, followers, including Trump's children, had to compromise their own integrity to defend Donald. It was announced in late November that Kellyanne would be the new point person on the opioid crisis. So basically, they appointed Skeletor to deal with the meth addicts. And personally, with her fucking physical appearance, I think that was an adequate acquisition, bitch. Skeletor should deal with the opioid crisis, bitch. Because no shade. I'm just saying. The National Public Health Emergency Fund earmarked for the crisis has shrunk to $60,000 at the same time Jeff Sessions' Justice Department pledged $12 million to help prosecute drug crimes via state and local law enforcement. Kellyanne was an unusual choice for this role, since she lacked any experience or expertise in public health, drug policy, or law enforcement. No shade, but sometimes you appoint people that can relate to the people. If I'm a meth addict, and I'm skinny, and I'm on meth, and I see Kellyanne Conway, I'm going to be able to relate, bitch. I'm just saying. Back in October, she guessed Trump and Sessions' view that the solution to the crisis were prevention, telling Fox News. The best way to stop people from dying from overdoses and drug abuse is by not starting in the first place. That's a big core message for our youth. Prevention was a necessary part of any drug policy. But what about the 2 million people who misuse prescription painkillers and the almost 600,000 heroin addicts already on our streets? Was Sessions-style round-em-up prosecution the best strategy? I wasn't so sure about that. Immediately, I set up a meeting with her for myself and the Surgeon General, Jerome Adams. We walked in, sat down, and said, "Dr. Adams and I want to talk to you about the impact of opioids on diverse communities." Dr. Adams, an anesthesiologist and African American, spoke for a bit about addiction and the proliferation of opioids in African Americans. I mentioned that during the crack epidemic in the 90s, there was no compassionate approach to treating addiction in the inner cities. Opioids were seen as a white, suburban, and rural problem, and resources for prevention and treatment were available. It's a major cause of death and suffering in the inner cities, too. We need to allocate resources to the minority communities as well. No shade, bitch. I'm here with her. I'm here with her on this, okay? Because when the crack epidemic hit, they was locking our black asses up. You was getting hella years and shit. I feel her on this. I'm with her on that. Kellyanne listened politely, but I could tell our passionate plea didn't sway her. I will look into all of this and get back to you. To this day, there has been little to no effort made to allocate opioid crisis resources to African Americans. Kellyanne's opioid cabinet, which is full of political appointees, was called a sham by drug policy expert Congressman Patrick Kennedy in January 2018. On December 5th, Corey Lewandowski's book, so Corey Lewandowski, we remember he's the old campaign manager, wrote a book called Let Trump Be Trump, okay? When he was, in an early chapter, he described how Hope Hicks would steam press Donald's trousers while he was still wearing them. Hope was furious. It portrayed her in a servile, demeaning light. It might have been a bit of revenge on Corey's part for Hope ending their relationship to move on to law enforcement officer. When the romance fizzled, she got involved with Rob Porter. Incidentally, Hope was not the only female assistant to the president to have White House flings. Another highly visible assistant to the president might still be carrying on her affair right now. So she, we know she don't like this Hope Hicks bitch. Basically, she said Hope was a hoe. She was fucking motherfuckers in the White House. And Corey Lewandowski got mad because she dropped his ass to go with Rob Porter. This is the Young and the Restless bitch. I don't care what nobody say. A couple of months later came the press reports of allegations that Rob Porter abused both his exes. Incidentally, when this all came out about Porter, General Kelly didn't want him to leave. The chief of staff had known for months about Porter's history with domestic abuse, but didn't seem to mind. The day of Rob's resignation, Kelly said, Rob Porter is a man of true integrity and honor, and I can't say enough good things about him. What the fuck? Oh my God. Okay, so this is after Omarosa left. The day after I left, I received a call from the president. He said, what's going on? I just saw on the news you're thinking about leaving. What happened? Did he not know that I had already left? General Kelly said you guys wanted me to leave, I said. No one even told me. I didn't know that. Damn it. I don't love you leaving at all. He started rambling. It's a big operation, to tell you the truth. He talked a little more, and then he would call me back once he spoke to Kelly. He apparently wanted to get to the bottom of the mishap. We hung up, and I tried to make sense of that conversation. Either he did know, and he was lying to me and playing me, proving his loyalty oath was completely one-sided, or he didn't know Kelly intended to threaten me, lock me in the situation room, and tell me he didn't want things to get ugly for me. He had ceded all control of the White House to the general. If that were true, when Trump was powerless, and that was alarming. During the call, I heard real sadness in his voice. He seemed devastated that I was gone. He was unhappy Keith Schiller was gone. His two old friends separated from him. In his voice, I could hear that he really did care about me, but it wasn't enough. Ivanka and Jared called me next. She said, I know my father spoke to you. He put out a nice tweet. I wanted to make sure you're doing okay. I'm hanging in there. Ivanka said, we've been thinking about you. Jared added, as we've learned, it's a brutal business. The reports of my exit have been insane, I replied. He said, we're here, and whatever you're thinking of doing next, if we can help you in any way. Omarosa, we're here for you always, said Ivanka. We really love you, and if we can help in any way. 100%, said Jared. Take care. Call us anytime for anything. And then finally I heard from Laura and Eric. During this call, Laura expressed love and concern for the whole family. You know how much we love you, how much Donald J. Trump loves you, and offered me a position in the re-election campaign, as I mentioned earlier. I stalled. I had no intention of joining, but I wanted to see what they send me. Laura and I discussed my plans for the holidays and when we could finalize. I told her that I'd be going to Florida for Christmas and we could talk after that. I read that New York Times article she blurred. She was referring to the article I mentioned back in the introduction, the one Katie Rogers and Maggie Haberman that said I had a story to tell. I hadn't seen it. I was busy recovering from foot surgery and the media attacks. I said, what article? It was on the front page, the one they wrote about you. That's not something to tell people about. If you come on board, we can't have you talking about that stuff. Everything is positive, right? Why don't we chat on Monday? So basically, they just making sure that the bitch don't write the book that she wrote. did she mean nearly 15 years of Donald Trump's crazy antics that I had witnessed? Because there was a lot. Within 24 hours, Laura sent me a contract to work on the 2020 campaign for $15,000 a month. Bitch, that's a Honda Accord. The same salary that I received at the White House. The NDA attached to the email was as harsh and restrictive as anything I've seen in all my years of television. It said that I was forbidden from ever talking about the entire Trump family or the entire Pence family to anyone in the universe for all of eternity. I declined the offer. I was done with Trump world. However, they were not done with me yet. 2 days later, I got a flurry of letters from attorneys representing the President of the United States, imploring me to stay silent about Trump or else. So basically, they was like, we know this bitch getting ready to write a book, bitch. If you say something, we go. Bitch. For months after my departure, I could not reach my sources about the N-word tape. And then, after I returned from my stint in Hollywood, I called one of them out the blue. Incredibly, this person, who shall remain nameless, picked up the phone. We spoke. On this phone conversation, I was told exactly what Donald Trump said. Yes, the N-word and others in the classic Trump goes nuclear rant. And when he said them. During production, he was milked. And there is definitely an audio track. For over a year, I'd been so afraid of hearing the specifics from someone who'd been in the room. Hearing the truth freed me from that fear. And only now that it's gone do I realize just how heavy it's been. That's our chapter for tonight. Now, we have the epilogue left. I may read that, but I know we're starting April Ryan's book. We will start April Ryan's book Under Fire next Thursday because my podcast / web show, Secretary of Shade, will be launching on Tuesday, and I really want you guys to tune in. It's going to be great. We worked really hard on it. It will be weekly. Season 1 will be debuting next Tuesday, September the 4th. Just to kind of give you an update, we will be doing a live read Christmas special and Halloween special. We will be having a live studio audience for the Christmas and Halloween specials. If you are in the area, in the DMV, I would love for you to come out. Details will be coming. In the meantime, make sure you subscribe if you haven't already to the YouTube Secretary of Shade and hit the bell at the top so that you can get notified when the podcast / web show goes live on Tuesday. Also, if you're not following me on Instagram, make sure you follow me on Instagram at GODDM. If you have trouble finding it, it's on the front page of my Facebook page. Also, too, make sure you get your April Ryan books. We're going to start that on Thursday. And, I mean, it's going to be a key, bitch, because this is the other side of the story. And I may do a backstory on April Ryan. I'm not sure how I feel about that guy, but we'll figure it out. Nevertheless, thank you again. It's been another great read. You guys, like, really stick in for these readings. I love y'all cabinet members. Oh, my God. We're working on my website now. Just a FYI, merch is coming. Merch is coming. Merch is coming. Make sure you join the cabinet. The Facebook group will be ready next week when the podcast launches as well. I really do appreciate you guys. I love you all dearly. Thank you once again for all the donations on Cash App, Venmo, and it's been put to good use to give you guys great products and to move forward. Tomorrow I'll be releasing a little teaser with the Secretary of Shade theme song produced by Aisha Adore, my girl from Baltimore. She lives in Atlanta now. And be on the lookout for the Secretary of Shade single / EP, bitch, coming later this fall. I really appreciate y'all. We're really in this together. We got some great things going. Y'all be blessed. Have a great Labor Day weekend, bitch. For my Maryland bitches, eat some crabs, bitch, because I know I'm fitting to go in on half a dozen. Y'all have a good night. Peace and love. Chappelle.